time to do this today, Lorenzo. This is great. And it's been fantastic these last few months working on this PM Entertainment project and getting to speak to everyone who has worked with Joe and Rick. As you can see, I've got my collection of your films that you did for PM on VHS. Um, and I just got the new Blu-ray of Final Impact that Kathleen was over in Switzerland signing just about a month ago, I think. But I actually wanted to start. You'd been acting in film and TV really since the sort of 70s. But in 1989, you made the movie Snake Eater, which would go on to become a franchise. And this was the first
Yeah.
time, I think I'm right in saying, that you would start in an action movie as sort of the main lead. What made you want to go in the action movie direction at that point in your career?
Oh, well, I was just such a big fan of the action heroes of the day, Charles Bronson, Chuck Norris, even the James Bond movies. They were always, James Coburn did his American version of James Bond in movies called, In Like Flint and so forth. And I just always wanted to be in the action genre, but my first big break was with Falcon Crest, so that was a nighttime soap opera, the complete opposite of action movies.
Right.
So my agent asked me to read a script that he was sent by John Dunning and the gang up there in Canada called Snake Eater, and it just seemed like Deliverance. It's like it was another version of Deliverance with these basically zero brain power hicks living in the bayou, in some fictitious swamp. And I just was intrigued. I thought the character Jack Kelly was just what I was looking for to do.
Yeah. And I think Joseph told me that that sort of where he became aware of you was through Snake Eater. But how did you become aware of PM Entertainment? Joe tells a great story about buying you a car, which I hope you're going to tell me has actually happened.
He didn't buy it, the son of a
Oh,
gun. He leased it. He
oh,
leased the car. So I had to give it back after 36 months.
oh, I see. Okay, fair enough.
Right. But that's Joe, I mean, Joe's a good businessman.
Yeah.
I think what happened was that Joe or PM, somebody over at PM, called my agent and sent over Final Impact, the script.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I loved the character because it wasn't, I had been doing action movies. This was like probably 90s, I'm going to say maybe 93, 94. I'd done a few action movies. I think I'd done 2 Snake Eater movies. But
Yes.
what was interesting to me about the character in Final Impact was that he was the mentor. He wasn't the protagonist. He wasn't the lead action hero. That was Michael Worth. So my character was sort of like the guy that was on the end of his career, that was bitter because he lost a fight and started drinking. And it was just a very interesting character for me, acting wise, because he had all these demons, right? So I signed on, and I'm glad I did. That was the first of, I think, a couple of movies I did with Joe and Rick.
Yeah. You end up, doing Final Impact and the 2 CIA films. With Final Impact, first of all, what was your impression of PM, I guess, as you sort of started work with them and their particular brand? Because while there were a lot of companies out there making action movies in the 90s for certain, PM had their own look, their own feel, and I actually think put better quality on screen than a lot of the others. So how was your feeling about working with PM and working with your co-star Michael Worth as well?
Right. So the thing, I had done low budget movies because of the ones I did in Canada, because of the Snake Eater movies. So coming from big budget, network television to then doing movies that weren't going theatrical at the time, they were just doing a straight to video, was a little bit of a kind of a change up for me, if you will. Less time to shoot, practically no rehearsal time. It was just a different animal altogether. But I embraced it because of the opportunities that it gave me to play roles that I really liked and really had fun playing.
Yeah.
I mean, PM at the time, being that it was an independent studio, like you said, they really, I mean, Joe really, really worked at the script. He really, really tried to make stories that were compelling. Because without a compelling story and characters, you're going to lose interest in the movie. It doesn't matter how many special effects you get right. If you don't care about the characters, you don't care about what's happening on the screen.
Yeah, of course.
So he really did focus on the characters, and he cast his movies really well. And I think that's what set him apart from all the other independent action studios. They kind of thought of the characters and the story maybe as an afterthought, and they really promoted the machines and the toys and the devices, So that's my impression anyway.
Rick Pepin was obviously the producer, but also the cinematographer for Final Impact and both CIA films. Sadly, I'm not sure if you knew, but he recently passed away. And I just wondered, what were your memories of Rick on set, and also working with him as a director for CIA too? What were your memories of Rick Pepin at that time?
Well, you've probably heard this before if you've interviewed anybody with regards to Rick, but Rick was a very, very chill, calming force on the set. He wasn't a typical DP that threw a tantrum if he didn't have enough time to light. He was invested. Let's put it that way. He was invested in the product, invested in, getting the shot that he knew was going to be able to tell the story and propel it forward. Very helpful to me as a director, because, between the two of us, we knew what shots we needed and what shots we didn't for editing.
Right.
So he was just a super nice, really, really cool guy. And, Joe was too, but Rick even more so. Rick was just very calm and very friendly. We'd laugh at stuff, just easygoing guy.
And the next film you did for PM would be the first CIA film, Codename Alexa, your wife at the time, Kathleen Kinmont, who
Right.
were doing Renegade, the TV show with. Obviously, the first one was directed by Joseph and had a script by Ken Lamplugh and John Wiedner. But I know Joseph is very collaborative. And obviously, as you ended up directing the sequel, what kind of input did you and Kathleen have in initially the CIA film, but both films?
I mean, I was involved in the casting process in the second one. So
Right.
we were really excited about John Savage, and he read for us. I mean, he even came in and read for us for the part. And I was excited because I knew that John and Kathleen were going to have a lot of scenes together, and I wanted to support Kathleen with really, really good actors, which brings your own level of acting up, So that was important to me that we have John. And I think the minute he came in and read, that was it. I convinced Joe and Rick that we need him. So,
Right.
We got him for the movie, and he was just a pleasure to work with. But that was my input, not so much story-wise, but I mean, I was really busy as a director. I did storyboards on almost all the action sequences. I drew pictures in the back of my script.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of hardware,
Yeah.
There was a Hummer and helicopters and all kinds of stuff going on, and big locations. I wanted to shoot at Vasquez Rocks out there. I thought that was just going to be a perfect hideout location for John's character. And we had some great cameos, in that movie. Lori Kettrick.
Right.
And she was fantastic. And she had done a Renegade also. I remembered her from Renegade, and I think I suggested to casting that we look at her for that tough female role.
Yeah.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And the fight that she and Kathleen had was great.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah,
mean the fights and the action in the second one are definitely obviously ramped up. They always are for a sequel.
sure.
Obviously Kathleen had done Art of Dying with PM, I think prior to you both doing Final Impact. But after her working on Art of Dying, you doing Final Impact and Herb doing Final Impact, was there an idea that CIA one and two were, let's craft something for yourself and Kathleen together, or was it let's see if we can make Kathleen an action star? What were the thought processes behind kind of doing those two movies in that way?
I think Joe and Rick wanted to make me happy.
Yeah,
They wanted me to be in their movies.
yeah,
And they knew that Kathleen and I were married. They knew that we were working together at the Gates. So I think when they had a mind, they knew that I would want Kathleen in the movie.
yeah,
So and I'm glad she was wonderful in it. I mean, I never pushed Kathleen to be in any of my movies that I didn't think that she could completely handle.
right.
And she's developed into a lovely actress.
What are your, in terms of making the 3 p.m. films you made versus the sort of some of the other films in your career, what stood out for you in PM, especially sort of as it got more spectacle heavy and action heavy in the CIA films?
I wanted to do more. I really did. I wanted to do more PM movies. I think we had talked about doing a movie, and then my schedule didn't work out because during the hiatuses in between seasons of Renegade, I was I did action movies, for Pierre David, for a lot of different production companies, a lot of them in Canada, a lot of Canadian productions. But I was always open to working with Joe and Rick, you know.
Yeah, there was a mooted CIA 3, I believe. That's the rumor that goes around the internet, but I guess it never materialized. But in terms of the way they shot action, then I guess, or the way that sort of Rick and Joe wanted to put action on screen, sort of a little bit of the toys and gimmicks that you were talking about earlier, did their way differ greatly from other shoots you were doing, or did they put focus on that kind of stuff, or
Well, they had a tremendous amount of equipment. They had vehicles that they kept on there at the studio. They knew what they had, and they kind of wrote the scripts around knowing that they could use what they had, and
yeah,
that saves a lot of time. So that you're not running around looking for a Hummer. They had one. You're not running around looking for a Jet Ranger. They had a
right.
friend that owned one. So I think they were smart that way. They did accrue a lot of equipment, a lot of hardware, and they used it. You know, they would
Yeah.
they would use a car in one movie, and then I come and do the next movie, and it's like, wait, wasn't that the car that we used in the last movie? Oh, you just painted it.
Yeah.
you know,
That's whatever works,
whatever works. They were smart that way.
They
Mhm.
also utilized, I think, some of the best stunt teams in the business. I mean, certainly based on, people like Spiro Rosatos and Cole S. McKay and Broadway Joe Murphy, who would go on to have incredible careers both before and after PM. But they really had some really strong stunt teams. You worked with Broadway Joe Murphy on the first Codename Alexa movie. Talk a little bit about working with stunt teams both in front of and behind the camera as an actor and a director.
Well, Gary Daniels had a very small part in Final Impact, and then he went on to have
Yeah,
a, a big career with PM, and it was
yeah,
great because they would find these action stars and build them up and make movies with them, and it was fantastic. But the stunt people that I've worked with on PM, and I mean, and everywhere really, I've been very lucky. I've had great stunt people, very willing to learn, new stuff, because I was bringing new stuff to these guys. A lot of the stuntmen didn't have martial arts backgrounds, so a lot of the rehearsal time was spent, helping these guys to learn how to take a technique to the ground so that, nobody got hurt, right? And we had time to rehearse. We rehearsed a lot of the fight stuff in Final Impact. Jeff Langton was fantastic. He obviously had a big martial arts background. So our fight was, I mean, we could really, really come close with the kicks and the punches because we both were skilled. We weren't going to hurt each other, but we could make it look real. And the same thing with Mike Worth. He had martial arts background, so working with Michael was easy because we just kind of went back and forth in a very trusting way, knowing that the kicks and the punches to the head weren't going to make contact because we had control. And it really is all about that. It's all about the control that you have, and the more you do it, the better you get at that control. So I never injured anybody on any of the movies or TV shows that I did, and that's because we rehearsed and there was a period of time where you do everything like half speed, and then by the time you feel comfortable and you're ready to ramp it up for the take, we all knew which way we're going to go. So
no, of course.
And it looked great and nobody got hurt. And I went into tables and I had candy glass bottles broken on my head, and I went through windows and glass and all that stuff, and over the years, downstairs and everything. But it's all about taking the time to rehearse it, and so the camera operator knows where the action's going to be, where it's going to start, where it's going to end up. So you don't have to keep doing the same thing over again because the cameraman will know where you're going to be. So that saves time, and it saves people's bodies, knowing that they don't have to do the same master 10 times and be exhausted, and then you get sloppy, and that's when people get hurt.
Yeah,
they were really excellent people. All the people that Joe and Rick put in front of me, as far as the action goes, were really, really good stunt people.
yeah. I think it's why the films still hold up today, sometimes even more so than some of the straight to video movies being made today, or straight to streaming movies being made today, because I think there's more budgetary constraints these days in terms of where you can shoot, how you can shoot, and things like that, compared to Joe and Rick, who were very often blowing up downtown LA without any permits sometimes, but
Yeah,
that's what they did.
they used real gas too. I mean,
Yeah.
they'd fill 55-gallon drums with gasoline half full, and then we'd have great weapons people and demolition guys, and
Yeah, didn't seem to be anything they couldn't do. What was the choice? So you had directed a couple of episodes of Renegade, and then you directed CIA 2, Target Alexa.
it's the other way around.
Oh, okay.
I directed, the first thing I ever directed
Was
was
the
that
movie.
CIA 2.
Okay.
Yeah, and I screened that. I think I invited Stephen Cannell, the creator of Renegade, to come to the screening of CIA Codename Alexa so he could see that I could direct.
Right.
Because going into the 5th season of Renegade, I wanted to direct some episodes, and it was important to me that he didn't let me direct because I was number one on the call sheet, but he wanted me to direct because I was a good director.
Yeah.
So I wanted him to see the movie, and yeah.
Was that one of the reasons why you decided to do CIA 2, or was it to have some more input or some more control, or was it just to support Kathleen? What was the idea behind directing the movie? Was it to get to those episodes of Renegade, or?
Well, not in not in such a way. It just kind of happened that way chronologically. But I wanted to direct, and I thought there wasn't a better company to direct first for than PM, because I trusted them. I trusted Rick. I knew Rick as a camera operator would be right there with me, to collaborate. I felt I had a safety net with PM. And I wanted to direct, so they wanted to do the sequel, and I said, okay, I'll do the sequel, but I want to direct it.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, you got
Yeah.
it.
They were
back then, if you had a little bit of clout, you could get opportunities that wouldn't normally come, you know. And long term, I think my goal was to direct more television even after Renegade and kind of make the slide into more directing than acting. Didn't happen that way. It was difficult for me after Renegade to get into the directing mode with other shows because they were pretty much set. Directors were already like locked in to a lot of these different shows through the season. I didn't have a lot of a big resume as a director. So it was difficult making that transition to directing. So I just ended up doing more action after Renegade. I did another series called Air America, ran a season. And then after that, did another action show called The Immortal, where we shot up in Vancouver. So I just continued acting in these action based TV shows.
but would you have liked to have made more movies as a director or done more TV as a director if your career had gone that way?
If I had my choice, I would have loved to have done more television directing. Feature directing, it's a marriage. You're married to the production company for over a year sometimes. You're married to your editor, you're married to everybody on the project from pre-production through post. And in movies, it would have taken me away from my kids for a long, long time, months, a year maybe. Whereas television, even even the shows that were on network television, they at the time in the 2000s, they were taking more than 10 days to shoot an episode. So, you know, you're there for the casting, you shoot the episode, maybe you do a little post because they usually have a format that the directors all have to kind of fit, you know.
Yeah.
So there really isn't a lot of creative decisions that you can change. You kind of just are directing. You're a traffic cop, making sure that the characters are treated the way that they've been treated in the season. The shots are aligned with what their style is for the show, whether it's a lot of cameras on sticks, whether they move the camera a lot. Sometimes they use steady cam, sometimes they like the handheld kind of stuff. But you know, you kind of you learn what they like, and then you kind of just, as a television director, you're just a piece of the puzzle, right? You're just a cog in the wheel. You don't want to change, the you don't want to change anything drastically. You just kind of fit in. And I like that because you're in and you're out, you know. And
Right.
as an actor in television, that's what I was used to.
Yeah.
So as a director, that's what I was hoping to do. But it didn't happen. My dad did that, you know. He went from motion picture roles where he's the Latin lover or the international spy or some grandiose character, you know,
Yeah.
on Charlie's Angels or SWAT or whatever, and then he was able to slide into television directing because he was friends with a lot of producers. He was friends with Aaron Spelling, so Aaron let him direct a lot of the Spelling shows, and then he became really good. And he worked a lot. He did a lot of directing for Lorimar Television, which did Falcon Crest and Dallas and Knots Landing, and they did action shows like Code Red, and so he was able to slide into that alternate career easily, whereas I wasn't able to. I had to kind of stay with the acting stuff.
Yeah. Understood. No, PM were great at, when I look at whether it was giving Wings Hauser the opportunity to direct, whether it was giving you the opportunity to direct, C. Thomas Howell, who did movies with them later, he got an opportunity to direct. It was, and like you said earlier in your interview as well, giving people who had either been on TV in different genres or whatever, or, like Lawrence Hilton Jacobs or someone, the chance to star in their own films and direct their own thing. So it seemed like a very collaborative company and a very sort of open and welcoming company to the people who worked for it.
It really was, yeah, without a doubt. I was sorry that they that got out of the business. I really was. It would have been nice to have done more projects with them.
Yeah. Between City Lights and PM, I think they were at it 16 years, I think, or 17 years, maybe, between the two companies. And I think they
That's a pretty good run, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, because I mean, everyone thinks of PM as sort of the, 92 to 2000, 92 to 99 kind of thing, but they actually made a ton of films before then as well with City Lights and various other things. So I think between all in, I think they were from like 85 to 2000, maybe 15 years. But no,
Mhm.
it's a good run. Do you have any, so just to wrapping up then, do you have any sort of stories from the set of any of the PM films, anything that springs to mind, either about the CIA films or Final Impact, just to wrap it up? And secondly, one thing I've noticed is that Echo Bridge, who put out a lot of the PM films after PM wrapped up on DVD initially, they put CIA, the two CIA films, on pretty much every action box set they put out, whether it was 25 action films, 10 action films, but whatever. I must have 8 or 9 different, just because I own all the compilations. It's on there. So do you get people coming up and talking to you about the films you made with PM? So those
Yeah,
are the last
every
two
once
questions.
in a while, every once in a while, somebody will mention Final Impact or CIA codename Alexa. But the funny thing is that, OJ was in the first
Yeah,
codename, right? And we had worked together before on a television movie for Columbia that was on CBS called Detour to Terror.
yeah,
It was one of the first things, I think it was the first bad guy I played, the first, you know, heavy role. And OJ was the bus driver, and Anne Francis and Artie Johnson were two people amongst a group of the retired folks that were driving or taking a bus to Las Vegas to gamble. And I played this cowboy hat wearing roughneck in a dune buggy with my buddy Tommy Morales, who was famous stunt man. This movie he acted in, he was my partner. And we robbed all the old people and kicked them around and just were a bunch of just terrible, terrible people. And stories about OJ. So there's this one scene in the movie Detour to Terror, not codename Alexis, but in Detour to Terror, where I grab OJ by the back of his collar and I throw him down right to the ground. Now, I'm 21 at the time. This is 1979. I'm 21, I'm about 180. I'm in shape, because I've been doing karate and I worked out. But grabbing OJ by the back of the neck, I couldn't move him. It was like trying to grab a limb from an oak tree. You're trying to move that oak tree. And a director, forget who directed that, but he said, guys, I need Lorenzo to really we need him to push OJ down. I looked at him, I go, I'm trying. and OJ looked at me, says, I got you, brother. I got you. Let's just do this again. So the second take, I grabbed him and I just went like this. I pushed him and he went flying into the ground, and the director loved it. But that's my OJ story.
yeah.
And then, of course, when he came on and did CIA, I don't remember if I had many scenes with him. I don't think I had a lot of scenes with him. But yeah, boy, how things change
Yeah.
when time clicks on.
No, you have to look at these things from the time they were made, not with the
Yeah,
modern sometimes.
exactly. Yeah,
Uh, no,
he was on television all the time, whether it's commentating or doing the Hertz commercials. And I'd met Nicole because Nicole was on location when we shot that movie together in New Mexico.
yeah,
And they were just so crazy for each other. I mean, we'd have dinners together with the cast, and they were just all over each other very
yeah,
early on, I guess, in the relationship. It's just it's sad, it's sad and it's tragic. But he was very nice and very professional, you know, to all the cast and the crew. There wasn't a hint of a personality disorder that you could say, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. It just doesn't make sense, you know?
Yeah, it's no, it was shocking at the time, and obviously tabloid fodder for many, many, many years.
Yeah, very shocking. And I was on a movie set on another action movie that I did in 1990, the summer of 1994, and everybody stopped filming and got in front of a television set and watched the white Bronco chase, you know?
Right.
Uh, yes, I did
Because
that
it was
movie
right after you made Code. Now I'm thinking of the timeline. It was almost right after you made Codename Alexa. It wasn't
almost. I think I did two movies. I
a
did
year.
Codename, and then I did another movie in June for
Right.
Alan Emil,
Yeah.
another producer.
Yeah.
Uh, that had a lot of karate in it. That movie, Bounty Tracker, I think it was
Yeah.
called. But yeah, that was crazy. Anyway, we digress.
Yeah, of course. But no, so any final PM memories, and what do fans say when they come up and talk to you about the two movies?
Well, the PM memories really are of driving to Las Vegas to shoot Final Impact. You know, we all caravan together. Joseph in his little Mercedes, his little black four-door sedan, and Kathleen and I were in I think my pickup truck, and we would stop. Joseph would stop, he'd pull over. We didn't have cell phones. He'd pull over, and we'd pull over with him. We go, hey, what's up? You need gas? He goes, no, let's shoot something here. So he had Rick with him, and he'd pull out the camera, and we'd use a gas station, and we just stand around and kind of walk around and pretend like we were talking to each other. And he had this gas station in the background, this old fashioned from the 50s gas station.
Yeah.
And it was just impromptu stuff like that. We stayed at the Sands Hotel. And I remember filming that sequence, that scene up on top of the roof with Michael Worth, where I think I'm telling him about, you know, the future is in his hands, da da da, giving him this mentor like speech, and just looking out over the city lights of Las Vegas, the Strip, you know, at night. Just special memories like that.
And do apart from people like myself, do people ask you about your PM films like on the street, or do they remember those early action films that you made or not?
Yes, of course they do. I mean, the hardcore fans, they'll come up to me on an autograph show, and they'll ask me about how was it doing the PM movies, and how was it working with these other producers, and they're very like knowledgeable about the companies that produced these movies back in the 90s. And you know, they'll know the storyline, they'll remember more things about the character than I'll even remember.
Yeah. And do you like that? Do you like it? Was that era for you? Do you look back at those early 90s? You were taking your steps into action films, getting more of the maybe the genre that you wanted to be in, getting the chance to direct and stuff. Was that a was that a really great period for yourself? Was that something you look back on frequently, or you always
Yeah,
look?
I think that was the high point of my creativity as as an action star, and quite frankly as a director as well. So yeah, that was really a great time for me in my career, and I'm so thankful that it's preserved on DVD. And you know, they have different formats coming out now, these movies, and I'm just thankful that they'll forever be available to watch. You know, if you're a fan and you just feel like watching a cheesy 90s action movie, I've got plenty of them.
Yeah. No, and I have a whole Lorenzo Lamas selection in my VHS and my DVDs. You're one of the
A lot of fans that would be jealous of you.
yeah.
I mean,
Good.
they got the Lorenzo Lamas category. They have Don Wilson's films.
Yeah.
You know, they got Gary Daniels films. They got Olivia Gruner's films. You know,
Jeff
these
Speakman. Yeah.
Jeff Speakman. I mean, these guys, we were all part of that kind of that great action genre, you know, that didn't have the big studio behind them. And, you know, so there's a special category. I'm not sure what to call it, but
Oh,
I
I mean,
guess,
I call it a golden. It was definitely a golden era, especially for the video shop
yeah,
era. You were, you're a most people are from the video shop era. They'll either talk about horror films or
Yeah.
they'll talk about action. Those were like the two
Yeah.
big ones.
And those snake eater movies, I mean, you
Movies, which
got
I
it.
have.
You just have to realize that there's a lot of it that's campy and corny about it, but it's really entertaining. You know, those
Yes.
movies, looking at them from today, are really, especially the first Snake Eater. It's
Yep.
really entertaining, you know.
Oh, it is. No, it's fantastic. And like I say, the only crime a movie like these can make is to be boring at any point. And most of them
Yeah, we weren't boring.
weren't boring. Well, Lorenzo, thanks ever
Yeah,
so much for your time today.
terrific. Thank you for being patient with me. The schedule's been crazy the last couple of weeks, so
Oh,
I
I'm sure.
appreciate it very much.
Busy man. All right, take care. No problem.
Bye bye.